we've just had John Coleman in here talking about playing Bristol Rovers and Nick Anderton and the connections between the two clubs and the situation that Nick finds himself in. The message there was some things are a lot more important than football. As a former teammate, as somebody who knows Nick well from his time here, it transcends football, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, it puts things into perspective very, very quickly. I'm friends with Nick in a personal capacity, but I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he's been putting updates on, and you can see the journey that he's going on at the moment. And when you arrive home on a Saturday night at 5:30 and you've lost a game and you're feeling down, and you see things like that, you quickly realise what the most important things are in life. I remember Jurgen Klopp saying about football was the most important thing of the unimportant things during the pandemic, and that's right. There's so many things going on outside of football that are a lot more important. So many things that are outside of your control. As Nick, what we can see with what Nick is going through at the moment, and I wish him all the best, and everyone here does. Remember him fondly from his time here. Great lad, really good at darts. I remember he used to come in every morning. Was the best football darts player I've seen, and he did a really good job for the short time that he was here. So I really hope he's on the mend very soon.
It, I suppose, gives that sense of perspective that somebody who's young and fit and a professional athlete can be in this situation. I suppose it's human nature to think that could be me, young family, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think it shows that anybody's untouchable. He's in the peak of his health. Footballer, athlete, training every day, eating well, looking after himself, training well, and something like this just knocks you back completely out of the blue. So it shows that nobody's immune to these issues, and it does scare you. And I'm sure it scared Nick, it scared his friends, it scared his family, it scared the wider footballing community when we follow his story. But people are rallying around him. And please God, he'll pull through.
And I suppose the fact that we're having this conversation and the fact that Bristol Rovers are doing a lot of things to show solidarity and raise some awareness is a positive use of the profile that someone in football has.
Yeah, for sure. Bristol Rovers as a football club have got a wide reach, and people are aware of Nick's story because of that. I'm friends with one of their coaching staff, Danny Ventry, and I saw that they were shaving their heads to raise money, which I thought was a great idea. And I think they've already reached their target, which they set, which is fantastic. And it just, by coincidence, while that's going on, Bristol Rovers are playing one of Nick's old teams, and I think we can both come together and understand that we're both going to, try our best to get 3 points on Saturday. But after it all, I think we can all agree that, what Nick is going through now is so much more important than football. And as I say, we can just wish him our best and hope that everything works out well.
Strange thing about football, isn't it? You have that solidarity, those connections with people. You're all very similar in the terms of the lives that you lead, but come 3 o'clock on a Saturday, you want to go out there and win the game, because this is a big game.
It's a big game, yeah. It's a big game for us. It's a big game for them. Sometimes football's a release as well, for 90 minutes or 120 minutes from 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock. You're able to. Well, you try to block out what's going on outside of football, and you're just fully focused on, right, I've got a job to do here, and this is very important right now. We've got to try and get 3 points, because as you say, it's an important game for us. The position we find ourselves in the league, we've had a couple of cup games as a distraction from the league, but we're back at it now on Saturday.
How does it feel to be the wrong side of that dotted line in that relegation zone?
It's not nice. You never want to be there. We've been there a few times this season, got out of it quickly, so that would be a real carrot for Saturday. If we were to win, there is a chance we could get ourselves out of the relegation zone. It's not a place you want to be in, and the longer you stay in it, the more difficult it is to get out. So it would be a big help if we could get out of it as soon as possible.
You've just had 4 away games on the spin in various different competitions. To be back here, to be back at home, You've not won a home league game for quite a long time. How much of a difference can the home fans here make to change that?
Yeah, it's massive. They're huge. If we can get this place rocking between now and the end of the season, that'll go an awful long way to seeing us where we want to be come the end of the season. But you know, we've got to be the ones to get the fans going. I think we've got to produce. We've got to play the way that the manager wants us to play, on the front foot, winning headers, winning challenges, playing good football, and then the crowd react to that, and it becomes a very difficult place for away teams to come, and that's what we want to make it between now and the end of the season.
As far as that sort of setting the tone, setting the tempo, can it be something as simple as a great tackle or an interception or a block or something that just gets everybody firing?
Of course it can. It can be anything like that. Football fans love hard work. That will never change. Whether you're watching Premier League game or you're going down watching, the lower leagues, football fans love it when they see players working hard. They've paid their money to come and watch. They want to see players working hard. So whether that's tracking back, a challenge, a wonderful piece of skill, a great goal, winning a header, it can be anything, and that can be a spark to get the whole stadium going. And it is an awful lot easier to play when you got fans at home behind you. It does make it an awful lot easier.
How are you finding it at the minute? Playing centre half for a start?
It's a bit more stressful back there, I think, because I think your concentration levels have to be a little bit more than when you're in midfield. So I think after games, you feel a bit more tired mentally because you've tried to concentrate for the whole 90 minutes, whereas in midfield, you possibly don't need to. You have to concentrate, but not to the same degree. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of become a needs must at the moment with the injuries that we've had. I think we've got a few lads coming back now, and the window's open, and a few new bodies coming in, which will stand us in good stead, I think.
I don't think there's any way of saying this without making you sound really old, but does experience help, sort of reading the game, anticipating situations in that area of the pitch?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I tried to just think of what would Mark Hughes do, because he was very good at it. He was so good at reading the game, putting amount of times the ball just fell on his head, or it fell to him in the right place. But that's not luck. He knows what's going to happen. And Jimmy and the manager and John Doolan spoke about it a lot of the time when Mark Hughes was here. So it is something that I try to tap into. Like you say, I'm older now than I used to be, as we all are. But I'm not as sharp, not as quick. So to read the game a little bit better, a little bit quicker than your opponent does help. And
I spoke to Aaron Pressley after the cup tie the other night, and he was talking about the experience of yourself and Sean Worley, who he's playing up front with, and Sean McConville's come back into the team. Because you've experienced a lot of these things, he said you're kind of dragging these younger guys through. Obviously you're the captain, Sean wears the armband if you don't play. How much of an influence on and off the pitch are you able to have when and it's a real mixed bag of players experience-wise, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I suppose it's trying to set an example. I don't think any of us are the loudest. I've certainly been in dressing rooms where there have been players that will talk a lot more. But I think we try to do it by setting an example, by just knowing that the likes of Aaron who are coming in and the younger lads, they watch us, they see how we act in the dressing room, they see how we act on the training ground, they see how we act on the pitch, and set an example through that way. But I also think there's a lot to be said for lads who haven't been through it and kind of have a little bit more of a freer mentality and are not afraid to try things and express themselves on the pitch. And I think there's a good combination of that in our dressing room at the moment.
How does that work before a game, immediately before you go out? Do you say a few words? Is it the coaching staff who say a few words? Is there a vocal player in there that pipes up? Is it kind of anyone who can contributes?
There's a lot of voices. Jimmy will probably have the last words before we go out. The manager usually speaks before the warm-up. Jimmy will give us our last instruction, and then it's me, Sean Worley, Ethan, Harvey Rogers now has played a lot of games, Toby and Lucas, if depending on who's playing between the two of them. There's a lot of last minute information, but sometimes you're trying to just focus on your own game. Then at that point, 5-3, just before you go out, you're trying to remember who you're marking, what you're doing from corners, for and against, and trying to get your own house in order.